Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to the Smithfield Town Council meeting, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. There were 2 votes in executive session taken. The first one was 5-0 in favor that the Smithfield Town Council authorize Attorney of Augusta to reach an agreement with the estate of Armand Beaudry in Supreme Court case PC 2009-0843, and Rhode Island Supreme Court number 2021-279 appeal, with the funds to be paid by the Smithfield Fire Pension Plan, the amount of $297,933.77. There was also a vote taken 5-0 in favor that the Smithfield Town Council authorize the purchase of a portion of 88 Deer Run Trail, Assessor's Plat 12, Lot 26, in the amount of $8,000, and authorize the town manager and town solicitor to execute all necessary documents. We're going to begin with a prayer. Please, Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Amen.
Amen.
Salute to the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Emergency evacuation and health notification.
Thank you, Council President. There's 2 main exits from the Town Council chambers. To the left of the stage, up the stairs will take you out the back of the building. The back of the council chambers to your right, the stairs will take you out the front of the building. Just past that on the right is the men's facility. Up the stairs to the left is ladies' facility. Please do not use the elevator in time of emergency.
Thank you, sir. Presentations, we don't have any. Minutes. Move that the minutes of the September 3rd, 2024 executive session meeting held pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A1, personnel to interview Gail Dwyer, Deanna Mills, Felicia Maher, and Frank Smith for possible appointment or reappointment to a town board or commission as be approved as recorded and sealed.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, move that the minutes of the September 3rd, 2024 open session meeting be approved as recorded.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, consider, discuss, and act upon the following possible appointments and reappointments. We have one for the Conservation Commission appointment with the term expiring in July of 2027.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council appoint Felicia Mahar to the Conservation Commission with a term expiring in July of 2027.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, zoning board reappointment with a term expiring in May of 2025.
Mr. President, I move that the Town Council appoint Frank Smith as first alternate to the zoning board with a term expiring in May of 2025.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item C, Johnston Smithfield Juvenile Hearing Board reappointment with the term expiring in September of 2025.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council reappoint Dina Mills as alternate on the Johnston Smithfield Juvenile Hearing Board with a term expiring in September of 2025.
Seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And item D, Johnston Smithfield Juvenile Hearing Board reappointment with a term expiring in September of 2027.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council reappoint Gail Dwyer to the Johnston Smithfield Juvenile Hearing Board with a term expiring in September of 2027.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearings. A, schedule a public hearing on October 15th, 2024 to consider and act upon Code of Ordinances amendments to add Chapter 29 entitled Ethical Guidelines for Municipal Appointed and Elected Officials, sponsored by council members Rachel Toppy and Michael Iannotti.
Mr. President, I move passage.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President, this was referred to the Personnel Board as required by the Town Council when this came before the Town Council previously. The Personnel Board reviewed and made a recommendation that we go forward with this as long as the town solicitor confirms in writing that there are no inconsistencies or conflicts with state law, town rules, town regulations, or town ordinances. The title has been changed to Ethical Guidelines for Municipal Appointed and Elected Officials, so that it is understood that the purpose of this ordinance is simply to create guidelines for the officials to follow.
I have a question, Mr. President. You say guidelines. Who is going to administer the guidelines? There's no due process if someone is found in violation of the ordinance. My opinion, more work needs to be done. That has to be spelled out rather than just throw it on the table and just say, these are guidelines. My opinion.
Thank you. I think that with guidelines, it basically, they're administered by whatever body enforces them. For example, if someone was on the planning board and this issue came up where they had received money from an applicant, the counsel to the planning board would advise the member of the planning board who had received the money whether or not they should recuse themselves, should recuse from voting on the issue. And that's where this comes in. It's not a, these are not, this is not an ordinance where we say, we got you, you committed a violation. It's mainly to prevent unethical activity. Similarly, you know, if a department director goes out and is going to speak or moonlight on behalf of an applicant for whatever, a zone change or whatever, the town manager would just simply tell them that that wasn't allowed by our ethical guidelines.
And what happens to that individual?
The individual would be told by the town manager they simply can't do it.
And that's it?
That's it. And, you know, that's, the town manager has the authority because the town manager has these guidelines to tell him that our guidelines in the town of Smithfield do not allow that type of activity. So that's why we now, you know, we refer to these simply as ethical guidelines for people to follow. Do you see any problems?
The guidelines basically supplement the state ethics code. And
There's 53 pages in the state ethics code. I mean, come on.
these address specific, they would address specific issues.
I get that, but I think there needs to be a process. You just can't bring someone, if they have an ethics violation, to the town manager, and he says, no, you can't do that. You got to have a process.
I think these are more expectations that we have as well, you know, in general. They're not meant to be, oh, you're punished kind of thing. They allow for a more clarity as far as what we expect from our appointed officials. Again, these are from specific instances that have happened recently. So they do happen, and we want to minimize that happening in the future.
If they did happen, what happened to those individuals?
Depends on the case.
Right.
No, she just stated that it did happen. What happened? What happened?
Well, these guidelines weren't in effect.
No, I
So
get
in
it.
some cases, in a couple of cases, nothing happened. In one case, something happened. I don't want to get into personnel issues, but
My opinion is you're overreaching, but that's my opinion. I will not support it unless we have a process in place. If someone does something wrong, there needs to be a process in place. I mean, as an attorney, you know that. There's got to be a process in place.
There has to be a process when the guidelines are not guidelines, that they're mandatory ordinances with penalties. Without penalties, it's basically a guideline. It's an employment guideline that all employees and appointed officials are expected to follow.
It's not on the employment application now that you need the employee handbook? Of course it is.
I think the majority of people in general can agree that government in general could use more ethics. So I think that this definitely helps provide clearer expectations that we have and hopefully lessen unethical behavior, even though that will still happen, I'm
And
sure.
that should be in the handbook.
This is for appointed officials, which they're appointed by the council. They're not appointed by the town manager.
This is for, tonight, this is for purpose.
Schedule a public
strictly
hearing.
Scheduling the hearing if one wants to do that.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Tom Hodgson, 200 Fredham Pike. I just asked the town that if the council does move forward to schedule a hearing, that the minutes of the Personnel Board are published in advance of that meeting. They may be draft minutes, but I think those, should be public so that they can be reviewed before the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think at the very least, we should allow the public the opportunity to tell us whether they would like this if they wish, or if they don't like this if they wish. I think that they deserve a voice if they wish, and that's all we're doing tonight.
Any more discussion?
I would also mention that there is a similar provision supplement to the state ethics code that is contained in the town of Lincoln's code of ordinances.
Thank you. So we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Item B, schedule a public hearing on October 15th, 2024 to consider and act upon the Smithfield wastewater treatment facility plan amendment application to RIDEM in regards to the relocation of reserved sewer capacity in anticipation of the sand trace development. Before we begin,
Yes, Mr. President, I am recusing myself from discussion on this issue because I was involved in litigation with the sand trace development, and I am in a abutter to that development.
thank you.
And this is just a schedule.
Yeah, this will be quick. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address, please.
Josh Jelly. Address is 110 Jefferson Drive, Coventry, Rhode Island. I am the acting town engineer for Smithfield. And I know some of you are probably asking more about what this entails. So basically, there's no sewage available to certain areas of Long Road and Man School Road. And so for the sand trace development project, they would need to extend it into that area. And that would also open up some room for current residents in that area to also connect. And so that's what this hearing would be about.
Thank you.
So it benefits the sand trace property? is what you're saying?
Mainly, yes. There's a
Okay.
160-unit condominium that's being built, and so it would be mainly for that. But then there would also be the possibility for current residents to also connect.
Okay.
I'll save my comments for the public hearing. But I am surprised a project got approved without the current structure being able to work for it.
Yeah.
I feel like, we're playing the whole catch-up to things that we decide.
Definitely.
But I'll save it for the public hearing. Thank you.
I would also like to make sure that Mr. Phillips and Mr. Jelly be present at the hearing to answer questions. I'm sure you will be anyway, but I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kenneth Souza, 2 Williams Road. I had no intention. I find it interesting that this discussion is after the ethics one. I really do. Because you know that I was fully involved in that process, the pre-C word, when it was all, and there are things that have been looked aside to approve that development that are in state law. I'm not going to go through all of them, including changes to the entrance and the exits right across from my property to create a four-way intersection that's just been bowled over like a bulldozer, with all due respect. Okay? We asked them to do the, like, owner-occupied, because what's going to happen in there, there are going to be certain families that are going to be renting that facility when the owner can't sell can't sell those units. Watch the problems. Look in URI at what happened last week, and that's going to happen there. Okay? There is no bus stops. There's no sidewalks against state law. So my question, and I know you don't have control of this, although I don't understand the public hearing, because I could go through a lot of things that are in my notes. Why wasn't this talked about before? They got the full, and I don't know where the full permit is. I don't think they've gotten it yet. But this has been a drip, drip, drip over a long period of time with a lot of people, I'm not going to say any names, who've looked the other way. They're putting 140 plus units. They're putting the minimum number of LMIs, which I think is awful. It's not going to move the percentage under the old law, not the new one. How did this get to this point? We need some changes. And again, I'm not going to say which floor it is and where it's going on, but we need some changes in this stuff. Really do. I came to Smithfield for a reason, not to have 140 units across the street from my house with a four-way intersection on a driveway that's already unsafe. I dare any of the people in front of me to get out my driveway. And yet everybody in a certain floor of this building has looked the other way. That's all I have to say, guys.
Thank you.
Apologize to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Licenses, we don't have any. Old business, there's a none.
Wait for Mike.
Oops, sorry about that. Sorry. Licenses, we don't have any, and old business is none. Moving on to new business. A, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the town manager to enter into contract with the Alter Equipment Company of Hooksett, New Hampshire, for a sole source purchase of one new infield groomer for the Parks Department in the amount of $38,800.00.
Good evening, Gene Allen, Director of Public Works. This piece of equipment will be used on the 12 baseball and softball fields that we have in town, and it'll help us to bring them back to the specifications that they're supposed to be built to, and also to maintain them on a better condition.
Do we currently have one?
No.
Is this paid, it says further on here where we adopt the resolution that there'll be 4 lease payments.
Yes.
So actually, hitting this year's budget would only be a quarter of the cost?
The current CIP is on a 4-year repayment program, yes. The current repayment. This particular funding was approved back in, I believe, originally 2022. There was 2 payments in 2 years.
So there's some that it's actually been in the prior years, it's been reserved to make the down payments on that. So the 4 years actually isn't going to click out 4 years. It has the flexibility to go out up to 4. But because those funds were allotted before, you could divvy up the rest. It makes smaller payments going forward.
And that's with this item and also the next item, the spreader?
Yes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, thank you. Consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the town manager to enter contract through the Connecticut State Contract 15PSX0017 with Freightliner of Hartford Inc. of East Hartford, Connecticut for the purchase of one new stainless steel spreader for the Parks Department in the amount of $27,542.00.
Thank you again, Gene Allen, Director of Public Works. The spreader that you're being asked to approve tonight is to go on the new truck that was recently purchased. It'll go on a swap loader frame, so it'll have the flexibility to have many bodies put on the back of it to keep it more productive year-round.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon adopting a resolution authorizing the financing of the purchase of a new infield groomer and a new stainless steel spreader for the Parks Department through the Smithfield Capital Lease Fund.
Just a resolution to purchase these under the
Seconded.
financing.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a bid award for a 20-year wastewater treatment facilities operation and maintenance contract.
Hello again. Thank you. And so I'm here this evening to provide an overview and recommendation regarding the proposed contract for the operation and maintenance agreement with Veolia Water North America. The previous 10-year contract has expired, as you're most likely well aware of. And so we had to submit a request for proposal to give applicants the opportunity to submit a bid for the new contract. And during this process, Veolia Water was the only bid that we received. And so I am looking to move forward with Veolia Water for a new 20-year contract with your approval.
Previous contract was 10 years,
Correct.
so this is a 20-year one?
Yep.
This has been delayed, hasn't it, we've delayed this.
Correct.
Were there issues that caused a delay?
It was more technical legal issues, meaning the cleanup of the contract itself. It's a quite robust contract in order to operate, the facility. And in the meantime, too, our engineer had left the town. So unfortunately, with that institutional knowledge, we had to kind of regroup and continue forward. So there's many aspects of this contract, but in the end, it's a win-win for the town and a win-win for the operations of the plant. It was also evaluated as, concerning whether or not a 10, a 15, or a 20. And it was most beneficial based on where the future is for the capital needs of the sewer plant. And the success that we've had with the great work with Veolia Water as well.
One thing I wanted to note for the record that I found impressive in this 20-year contract was the the aeration system that can save the town anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000 annually. We always love seeing cost-saving measures, so moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, consider,
Thank you.
discuss, and act upon, thank you. Consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a bid award for the East Smithfield Neighborhood Center Phase 2 rehabilitation and renovations funded by the Community Learning Center Municipal Grant.
Bless you. Thank you to all involved, I know. Thank you to all involved. I know you guys are heading out. Thank you for all the hard work to bring it to this and to continue moving forward with the great success working with Veolia and our partnership. So thank you. So moving on to the Neighborhood Center, we were very fortunate to receive the full funding for the Neighborhood Center through a grant which has to do with the community center grant that the governor's office put out with the General Assembly. In total, the original allotment was just over $1.8 million for the center. But luckily, based on the plan that we had put together and working with the governor's office and the pandemic recovery office, we were able to get that dollar value up to over $2.4 million. Sorry, I was just doubling it in my head. $2.4 million, which will cover this contract, which will be all aspects of the build-out of the facility. In addition to that, the other dollars will be used for all of the FF&E and the other things that are needed for the center. So this would be fully funded by that grant, and to be able to get the center open in compliance with the guidelines for the funding.
Chief started, so moved.
Second.
That's excellent.
What's the timeline that you anticipate?
Occupancy,
Right.
5 years ago. We're looking at full occupancy by, I think it's October of 2026, to have all the operations and with the activities in the center based on the funding source.
More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item F, consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for executive and professional recruiting services for the hiring of a new town manager.
President Lyon, I'd like to just offer some food for thought in regards to the subject. You know, you have, when you're job seeking, you have active candidates and you have passive candidates. Active candidates are those who are obviously actively looking for a new job. Passive candidates are not. Typically, or more commonly, active candidates, why are they looking? Could be a multitude of reasons, but it could also, it's commonly that they're looking for advancement. They're looking for a step up, and their current company doesn't offer that. So what I see on a daily basis too is that a lot of these candidates that are applying to these jobs are not quite qualified for whatever the job is, a lot of times. So, and then we have passive candidates who are, commonly good where they are. They're not looking for a reason. They might be happy or they're content. Now, as far as we looking at this process here, we want to, if we're not doing an RFP for the search firm, then we're really just passively recruiting here, right? So how do we get those passive candidates who may have what we need? We have to go out and get them, obviously. So a search firm can provide that to us. And, I think it would be a disservice if we didn't go out and expand the pool of candidates to include those passive candidates because, it could be the perfect fit. They typically already have what, we are looking for. Sometimes they're a higher quality candidate. And secondly, what are we really expecting from this evaluation committee? I know we have agenda item H. However, are we who's going to be, if we don't have an RFP, if we don't have a search firm, who's going to be actively recruiting for these people? Do we expect the search firm to do, the search committee to do that? I don't think so. Are we going to have them look through all the applicants? Are we going to have them do the first and second interviews, background checks, reference checks? I think that's a big ask for them. I don't think it's very reasonable to ask them to do that. I really think that in general, the pluses of the search firm, obviously they have a wider network of candidates. And what I liked was the MRI, Municipal Resources, Inc. They've been in business for over 30 years. Serving municipalities in New England too. So I think that what they can offer as far as they have the contacts, they have the networks, they can actively go out and get these people who are not looking, who are high quality. I'm not saying that they wouldn't all be high quality applying. It's less likely. And I think we want to diversify also our pool of candidates. We want to make sure we include those who are not looking. Additionally, the confidentiality factor is big too. And they do everything from soup to nuts. It takes a lot of pressure off the town, takes a lot of pressure off the evaluation committee. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they signed up to do the entire process. They're not getting paid, they're volunteers. So I really think it would be in the town's best interest to, and I think most importantly, they're unbiased, they're impartial. Right, they're a third party. So I think that's huge and people would really appreciate that. So I would be in favor of moving forward with MRI. And I guess I would make a motion that the Smithfield Town Council hereby awards MRI the contract for executive and professional recruiting services for the hiring of a new town manager.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Randy, I have a question. When they did that the last time when you were involved in the search, how did that come about? Meaning you had a group of individuals, correct?
Correct. You mean the evaluation committee that was in place?
Yes.
That was selected by the town council at the
Yeah.
time.
And then they forwarded the names to the council,
Correct.
and the council did the interviews?
Well, the later rounds, the first
Right.
two rounds were conducted by the evaluation committee.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, any more
I
discussion?
think, I think Councilwoman Toppy almost said it all, and basically, we also want to have kind of, a standardized way of evaluating these applications as well. And so I think that the recruitment firm is the best way to go to accomplish that, and to, obviously, to get the best possible candidates.
Yes.
Joe Toppy, 20 Alpine Ridge. If you take on a search firm on a contingency basis, the best thing that can happen is they provide you with candidates that you like, and they don't get paid if they don't. So if you take them on a retained basis, then you pay them no matter what. But if you take them on a contingency basis, if they don't give you a candidate that you hire, it doesn't cost the town any money.
That's not what it says in the contract, though, right? They get paid, Anthony. They get paid no matter what they do, right?
No.
Yeah.
I run a search firm for 17 years.
No.
Yep.
I'm asking the council that put out the RFP, and they came back with prices. That's what I was just asking.
The proposal is for $24,500.
Correct. They get paid.
So to clarify, it's not a contingency fee.
Right, it's just a payment fee.
That fee, though, includes all travel expenses.
Right.
Right.
Kent Souza, 2 Lanes Road. I thought about this all day in the middle of lectures. Because I appreciate, first thing, I appreciate the council for selecting me on this. I'm honored to be on this committee. There's 3 points I want to make, 3 words: integrity, validity, and objectivity. I hope the 5 of you have never accused me or thought that I don't call balls and strikes. I just call them as I see them. And Councilman Tassoni, process is important, and that's where I'm going to go today. We don't have it. Now, I know there's an agenda item a little bit further, but here's what I'm concerned about. First, I want to make it public. How many names do we have? I don't want you to tell me necessarily. I'm very concerned where those applications are. Very. And I'm going to tell you why. They should be in a folder in her office. And you can say what you want, and I hope that's what happens. Now, if somebody tells Councilwoman Toppy, I applied, well, you can't stop that, obviously, okay? But I would say thank you, and you move on, because you're going to have you or the future council is going to have the ultimate decision, and I respect that. We do not do executive searches. I've done them. Brian, they are very confidential. You cannot have HR doing them. That's my second point. You cannot have HR do reference checking. That is her boss. It is absolutely inappropriate to do that. Now, she could do background checks because that's going through a system, printing out a document, you just pass it along, okay? Now, you can sit here and talk about whether you're going to approve that RFP or not, but I can tell you one thing. I don't have the time to interview or do reference checks for 20 or 30 people. Here's what will happen. What happens if I know, and I don't know how we would do this, what happens if I know one of the candidates? And by either luck or I pick it, you see where I'm going with this? You're going to get an inconsistent reference check, okay? You're not going to have standard questions that companies like Council and others, this company, will do. They've done it for 30 years. I believe we need that to create objectivity, validity, and integrity. We need that outside firm. Now, I'm concerned I'm concerned that maybe we're happy with the 20X or whatever the number is, because maybe we're afraid that the firm might come up with better candidates. I don't know. We shouldn't be afraid of that. We hire the best Corn Ferry, we didn't hire whatever. They're very good firms, they have it. This is going to be a regional search. Let's not, I just found out that it's in the charter, I think, that they have to live in Smithfield. The way housing prices are, it's going to be difficult to get somebody from Florida or California to come here, unless maybe they're coming back home. I think at some point, I think if they lived in Lincoln or Cumberland, I don't think it's a big deal, as long as they're local, within a certain radius, but that's up for another time. I just want this process to be a process where we will find somebody as good, never better, but as good as Mr. Rossi, and that we can say, and then you can say in your vote, we have the right person. Lastly, again, it has to be consistent. So I think I am going to strongly advise you at least to hire this firm or hire a firm to at the very minimum do that. I think they should throw out a search. What do you have to lose? I mean, I'm not going to go into a lot of money we've spent over the last few weeks. This is not a lot of money. And if you want to change it to contingency, as Mr. Toppy said, then change it to contingency. And I have no problem with that, okay? So I want to do the best job, call balls and strikes, and get you the top 3, top 5 candidates to give you guys, and then you, the 5 of you, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry I do that in class. I'll let you 5 pick the best candidate. I just want the process to be fair, equitable, objective, and valid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone with comments? I'm comfortable with the way we did it the last time. I said that in the past. It went smooth. It wasn't a really big process. It was smooth. There was integrity throughout the interview process. The council was given, I think, 5 or 6 candidates, and we got you, so.
So we would then need to figure out, is there going to be active recruiting? Who's going to do that? Who's doing all of these steps? This MRI has an 18-step process here, very organized. Who is going to do that? I totally agree with Mr. Souza. It should not be any of the town manager's direct reports. That is totally inappropriate. So who's it going to be? Are we even going to do that? Are we going to passively recruit? That's not very inclusive. We're not going to get a diverse pool of candidates if we do that. Do we want someone excellent, or do we want to say, okay, we'll just throw a post on Indeed or whatever, or wherever it is, and see what we get? I think that's a little lazy, honestly. This position is paying almost $200,000. A 185 is the cap. He runs the whole town. You need someone excellent, you need to widen the network, and these guys here specialize in New England. They put the South Kingstown manager in, I believe, as well. Yeah, amongst other towns. And really, the unbiased, there is potential for bias in anywhere, with us, with the search committee, with any group. The third party, I think, would be really fair. And I think that, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think people would appreciate that. 'Cause sometimes people get annoyed with the political stuff, and I'm not saying it's going to be that, but there is more potential if you don't have a third party, doing that. So let's keep it a little more diverse and inclusive of all New England. And that's just my opinion.
How many, thank you. How many-
Thanks.
You can't tell us the exact number, but first of all, where are the applications there? In a folder somewhere, right? Exactly, okay. And we have double digits. Any more discussion?
No one's looked at those applications, right?
They wouldn't.
Correct, yeah, which is the way it should be, but they could all be not qualified. So what are we going to do at that point in 2 months from now? Or 45 days in the application period? Are we just going to accept 1 or 2 people that are okay? Or we want to strive for somebody who's excellent? Just saying.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Item G, consider, discuss, and act upon rescinding a request for proposals for executive and professional recruiting services for the hiring of a new town manager.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Why do we rescind this request? Can somebody tell me that?
Because that way we can notify the vendors that they did not get selected and that the bid is not outstanding. As we do that with all bids that we don't award, we rescind them.
Good? Okay, I didn't, was there a second? More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Item H, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the role and responsibilities of the Town Manager Evaluation Committee. You put together this from last time, pretty much, right? A little bit of last time, and
Yeah, it was based on kind of the practice before, as well as some samples that are out there from other communities and what, kind of matching, kind of what everyone had mentioned.
thank you.
The way this is written, and no shade to say to Randy, it assumes that we're not using a search firm. So it's giving all these responsibilities to the committee that we don't even know if that's what they signed up for, right? You just heard from one of the members that, it's a lot. I think this needs to be reworked a little bit, and I think the committee should talk to the council, maybe a work session or whatnot, so we can go over more of what our goals are and whatnot. I think these things are rushed, and,
I do agree with a work session, at a later date, just to kind of give them, just have open questions. They're going to have some questions, we're going to have some questions, and,
Yeah, we should do it sooner than
oh,
later.
definitely, and we can pick through this, and
we're so concerned with process. We still don't have answers. Are we just going to keep it as a job posting, or are we going to actively recruit, or are we going to passively recruit? What are we doing? What are they doing? It's just questions are not answered, and it's just,
they're going to start reviewing the applications that we have. And see if there's someone qualified.
right, but, who's screening all these people? For this type of job, again, my opinion, you're not just going to give them one interview. You got to screen these people, you got to give them a couple interviews. They got to sit with us. It's a lot of work on the committee. I don't think it's fair to put all this work on them.
Well, the person I selected, I discussed with him the amount of work that's going to be involved, and he was fine with it. So I don't know if you guys did that as well.
That's why I'm as well a little perplexed. I was perplexed as well by the other individual coming up that we just appointed 5 unanimously to the commission, saying that he doesn't have the time to even call some of the people. So that's on council person. I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing to discuss and act upon authorizing the role and responsibilities of the Town Manager Evaluation Committee.
Not a public hearing, it should be a workshop.
Workshop, I'm sorry, I misspoke, a work session.
Which is open to the public.
Which is open to the public
Correct.
and allows public comment.
I second that.
So that's an entirely different
That's, yeah.
motion than this.
Do we have a time frame for that?
Okay. I've got to answer, comment. Think of what you people haven't thought of. If we have 20 people, you're going to give 1 reference check per person, per applicant. That's wrong. I just explained why. It's wrong. It's not objective. It could be bias, and it'll bias the entire thing. So the only way to do it would be to give every applicant to that's over 100 interviews. Council, with all due respect, that's why I made the comment I did. Okay? It's not because I don't have the time, because I've proved that I have the time for this town. But none of us have that time to do 100 interviews, reference checks, I apologize, and then do interviews after that. I think the council made a very large mistake, at least in not going out for an RFP that did the reference and the background checks. okay? Because it's going to taint the process. I'm telling you that over and over again. It's going to taint the process.
We have utilized this same process how many times before?
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Never had a problem.
And we've never had a problem. We're talking about issues as if we've had them. We have proven results that this process works. So let's not make a mountain out of an anthill or say that there's an issue with something that there isn't. So again, I made the motion, the second's there. I've said my piece.
Well, I can tell you one thing. From my days at the Justice Department in Washington, that the statement that we should do things a certain way because that's the way we've always done them. It's typical of government, and it's what's wrong with our government many times. And that's why we get stuck and we never go forward. Many times, there are better ways to do things. And I think for a job this important, we should be trying to do it the best way. And we should always be willing to try new things.
All due respect, no one made that statement. No one made that statement.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No,
Item passes.
I'm sorry, I meant to vote yes. I was looking at the other motion.
Council President, can I just be certain exactly? So
I schedule, I made a
just to
motion
have a work session.
to have a work session.
Right.
Yep.
But when? That's very open-ended. When are we doing that?
We're going to contact the search.
We got to see whenever, we'll reach out tomorrow.
Okay,
and see
so as
when
soon as
everybody's available.
possible?
Oh, without a doubt. I just wanted to make
Okay,
sure what the
just
motion
making
was
sure.
first, yeah.
Consider, discuss, and act upon canceling the November 5th, 2024 Town Council meeting. I assume this is for the new...
That's election day.
That date is specifically election day, yes, sir.
Move passage.
Seconded.
I'm not sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. If anyone would like to come up and speak, they're more than welcome to. Just state your name and your address.
Tom Hodgkins, 200 Farnham Pike. I wanted to address an issue that the council had at its last meeting, which was to issue an RFP for audit services for the 2 libraries. The funding for that is to be from the general fund. And my understanding from that and from the RFP that was put out several years ago was that the town was also paying for the audit services for the libraries as part of a comprehensive package when they were done several years ago. Our budget from 2021, fiscal 2021 to 2024, for the Greenville Library include a line item for financial audit. And during those years, almost $62,000 was allocated to the Greenville Library to pay for financial audit. And now what we have come out is that that was paid for by the town over the past several years. So where did the $62,000 go? Now, I'm sure it was spent by the library. The question is on what? And frankly, we've been asking that question now for 2 budget cycles. We're about to go on the 3rd, which is, how is the $1 million that the town sends to the libraries every year spent? We haven't gotten a clear answer on that. In this year's budget, fiscal '25, that line item was a 47% increase from the last year. 47% increase. And now what we're doing is we're taking now the town is going to pay for the audit. The library got a 47% increase, so now the budget item, the line item is $23,500 for fiscal '25. And the funding source for the audit is now the general fund. So it seems like the taxpayers are getting charged this twice, that we're paying for it twice. That doesn't seem right. I'm bringing it up now, so I hope the council can address this before the award for the bid comes up and determine, actually, we'll find out where the money went in the past couple of years, but also determine whether or not there should be some sort of adjustment to the library's allocation for 2025, since they're not paying for the audit. And if that's, my understanding is that the allocation is paid either quarterly or biannually or something, so it hasn't all gone to them. So if there's some amount that should be taken out from what they get because they're not paying for the audit, I think the council should address that in awarding this RFP and what the funding source is. Thank you.
So what's the answer to that question? Is it in there?
I'm not sure what line item Mr. Hodgkins is talking about. I'll look at that tomorrow, but it's always been that the town pays for the audit.
So they may have, okay, so what Mr. Hodgkins is saying is that there was a line item in
No,
there.
no, I get it. And I'll look at that tomorrow. I don't have what he has in front of him, and I'll look at that tomorrow. But we've always paid for the audit. The town has paid for the audit for the town, the school department, and the libraries.
And this is going to be a public hearing at our next meeting, I believe,
The bid award, you mean?
the bid award.
It just depends on what we get for responses, but
Okay.
hopefully, yes.
Okay.
May I approach? This is,
Did you want to say anything on that? Motion